Hello friends, I, Dr. Javed Ahmed Pare, Assistant Professor, Department of Higher Education, Government of Jammu and Kashmir, will give a brief talk on climate change and its impact on Indian Himalayan region. According to the IPCC Intergovernmental Panel on climate change refers to a change in the state of the climate that can be identified by change in the mean or the variability of its properties and that persists for an extended period, typically decades or longer. Climate change may be due to natural internal processes or external forcing such as modulation of the solar cycle and volcanic eruptions and persistent anthropogenic change in the composition of the atmosphere or in land use patterns as well. When we talk about the carbon emissions, it is directly related to the climate change. The ecological footprints that addresses the climate change in a comprehensive way beyond measuring the carbon emissions, or we can say the carbon footprints. That's the amount of the carbon that is usually being emitted by an activity or of the organization or the any community. It shows how carbon emissions compare and compete with other human demands on our planet, such as the food, fibers, timber, and the land for the dwellings and roads. Carbon emissions from the burning fossil fuel accumulate in the atmosphere if there is not enough biocapacity dedicated to absorb these emissions. Therefore, when the carbon footprint is reported within the context of the ecological footprint, the tons of the carbon dioxide emissions are expressed as the amount of productive land area required to sequester the carbon dioxide emissions. This tells us how much biocapacity is necessary to neutralize the emissions from burning fossil fuels. Now, when it comes to the Indian Himalayan region, we know it separates across 12 states of the Indian region. That's Jammu and Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, Uttarakhand to the northern eastern states, including the hilly regions of Assam and West Bengal. It contributes about 16.2% of the India's total geographic area, and most of the area is covered by snow-clad peaks and glaciers of higher Himalaya and dense forest cover of mid-Himalaya. The Himalayan region is one of the most important mountain systems in the world, and it's also referred as third pole and water tower of Asia. Now, the impacts of climate change on Indian Himalayan region. We will be briefly outlining the major impacts of climate change on Indian Himalayan region. From the trends that have been observed in the climate of Indian Himalayan region, we see the adverse impacts of on the natural resources of this region. Further, the fragmentation and retreat of glaciers has been observed, leading to the formation of more glacial lakes, and the change in the glaciers along with the erratic rainfall and increasing rainfall intensity are leading to change in the flow of water in the rivers. The change in the temperature are having impacts on the biodiversity of the region. Many flora and fauna species are experiencing a shift to higher altitudes in response to rising temperatures. Agriculture and horticulture crops are experiencing change in yield due to climate variability. Further, the mountain communities are getting adversely affected due to these observed changes in the natural resources in Indian Himalayan region, leading to many socio-economic impacts. In the peak, there is a clear this is where what are the potential effects of the global climate change in the areas like the frequent wildfires, long period of droughts, or increase in number or the duration of the tropical storms. Now the point is how we can respond to the climate change in Indian Himalayan region. The understanding on scientific impacts and vulnerabilities to climate change in Indian Himalayan region is limited as well as lacking in quantifying and measure to, to what extent and the level the people are vulnerable and exposed. However, there have been some major initiatives at international and national levels to combat the climate change and its vulnerability. If we see towards the international cooperation and agreements on Himalayan mountains has been there after the Paris Agreement 2015. Even the International Mountain Year has been celebrated also. When it comes to the national action plans, one of the national action plan on climate change, NAPCC, that focuses on the sustainable agriculture, water use efficiency has been framed. Another mission, NMSHE, that's National Mission on Sustaining Himalayan Ecosystem, to sustain the ecological resilience and ensure that continued provision of key ecosystem services in the ecosystems. National Mission on Himalayan Studies has been also developed, that is NMHS, to conserve and sustainable management of the natural resources of the Indian Himalayan region. Thank you.